Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Gotham as well as the season finale of Lucifer. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include a time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I say about this week's episode of Gotham, you can skip to what I had to say about the season finale of Lucifer. But the first thing we're going to talk about is this week's episode of Gotham. A very good episode where, so many storylines coincide, like while still dealing with this whole trying to track down Bruce and the court situation. For one, the leader of the court, which I don't think, even throughout the episode we never actually got his name because things didn't play out the way I thought they would be, but I'll get to that soon enough. It's the fact of the matter is he killed the court because it's like he wasn't lying about the situation. It's like, no, you guys have to die because of what you did. It's like you killed the Waynes. It's like, but Thomas was going to turn on us. You constantly come and go like years at a time. So it's like we had to make the decision, and like we as the council decide, like, yeah, we're all for it. And it's like, oh, you stand by that? Okay, so Bruce, I want you to give the order to have him killed, but he really couldn't go through with it because there is still some part of Bruce, that the real Bruce, not this facade of a Bruce. But he didn't go through with it, so the leader gave the order and killed every councilman. The way Harvey and Jim and them were talking about it, it sounds like every other member of the Court of Owls is dead. Not just the head council who made that decision, but it sounds like everyone is dead, because it's like everywhere we went, all we found were dead corpses. Not unless you were saying everywhere they went, they didn't find anything except for this one place where all the dead corpses. I'm kind of saying, I believe, I take that as the former of like, everyone is dead, because for him it's like, yeah, I started the Court of Owls, but like you all made this decision to do something like that. You did something stupid. They were the pillar. I guess because for him it's like the Waynes acted as the foundation to Gotham, and because of you, things have kind of run even more rampant. Because the Waynes were kind of, even though the Waynes were kind of wrapped up in all this stuff, might have ratted us out and everything, it's like we would have found a different way to deal with them. And I'm sure if Catherine was there, he probably would have killed Catherine too if she wasn't already dead. But because I'm sure Catherine wasn't above judgment for what went down. But it's like, that is truly, I thought he had some malicious intent. Like I thought it was like, oh, he was putting up some facade about this being one of the Waynes. It's like, no, he truly wanted revenge for what they did. So it makes you wonder, what's the correlation there? Like were the Waynes someone important to him, or was it just because of who the Waynes were and what they represented for Gotham, that they, even though they were shrouded in his darkness, they could have been the light needed to break through it? Which is not necessarily the light, but in the sense of like could have been the ones to kind of bring Gotham back. And they want, their murder is what set everything in motion, let kind of basically things to kind of play out the way they have been. So it's kind of interesting, like I said, because from the very beginning, it always seemed like the court's idea was all about immortality, which it seems like, I guess after like Strange wasn't able to complete that, I guess that was kind of like a done thing. It's like, okay, we won't worry about immortality, because it's like, I guess it's like we live long enough to kind of help root out the problems with Gotham. It's like we will be the judge, jury, and not necessarily executioners. That's kind of the executioner's job. But the fact of the matter is, we will be the pillars that will eventually, over time, will weed out the evil, and we'll be the ones alive to make changes in Gotham. Gotham will need us, its leaders, immortal. I think it's something I kind of brought up last season. At least my understanding of it was why they were doing it. But now it's like, I guess they're like, things didn't work out. That whole immortality thing didn't work out. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to expedite this. And it's just like, we're just going to have to destroy Gotham so that we can rebuild it. This is like the faster way. The other way would have taken long periods of time. And it's just like, that it's no longer time they have, because Gotham is in need now. So, but what the episode did teach us, obviously, that the leader is not the top head. He's the head of the Court of Owls, but once again, the Court of Owls is just a means to an end. That basically there's someone above him, because, obviously before he dies near the end of the episode, he's like, oh, go, he's like, oh yeah, there's a person that saw this vision who solved your destiny, Bruce. And he's like, of you being the dark hero that rises from the ashes of Gotham. And then it's like, yeah, at the end, he's like, seek the demon's head. I was like, I was right about Ra's al Ghul being involved. I just wasn't right about the right person. He is like, the leader isn't Ra's. There's someone else. Like I say, it's kind of interesting because I brought this up before, but like Ra's al Ghul, like Batman is actually where I first learned about Ra's al Ghul, not Arrow. Like I've brought that up before. So I became more familiar with him because of Arrow, obviously, but still. Like I said, it's one of those situations now that my DC knowledge has increased a little bit. I'm still no expert in. I know tidbits here and there. Like obviously, there certain things make more sense to me. Like Batman Begins. Like, oh yeah, that was Ra's al Ghul. Oh, who the main antagonist of the Dark Knight Rises? Oh, that's his daughter Talia. It's like, right. Is that Talia or is that Nissa? I think it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I haven't seen the movie subsequently learning what I know now. Like I know a lot of stuff because I think it was Talia that Bruce is with, because they kind of have a relationship, because that's where one of his children comes from. Isn't that where Damian Wayne comes from? Like I had no idea until someone brought it up, and it's like, because Bruce and Talia had a relationship, didn't they? At least that's my understanding. Like, not unless I'm confusing her with Nissa, like, which is so hard to, because like my only experience amongst them is like on a more frequent basis is Nissa. I know I'm diving too deeply into it, but I was like, dude, that's so cool. It's like, obviously, because I mean, like I said, my knowledge kind of trailing back is like not that well versed about when it comes to Batman, but I guess like he plays a big part in Bruce's upbringing. Obviously, that plays a part in Batman Begins, but I'm guessing that plays a part in just his background in general. It's like he's the one that really, really trained Bruce to be who he is. I mean, that's the sad thing in this episode is like, because you even see Alfred with the look on his face, like Alfred's like, no, this isn't Bruce. Bruce is so much stronger. Don't underestimate him, because Hugo's like, yeah, that boy is lost forever. And now he sees that in front of him. It's like the Bruce he knows, willing to stand between a gun and protecting the leader, because I can't let you hurt this man. But Alfred kills him. And so it's like, what does that mean for Alfred and Bruce's relationship from now on? Does that mean it's completely fucked? Like, can there be anyone? Like, I think the only person that can help Bruce now is himself. He will have to go back into his mind. Whatever it takes to be undone by what that leader did, it will have to be by Bruce's hands. But then again, it's like, with him in this mindset, I'm sure that's something he won't even consider doing now. He's like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is I'm set on this path that's laid before me. Obviously going to be trained. Like, I mean, I caught peeks of the previews, but it seems like obviously he's all about tracking down the Demon's Head, so... But obviously, that was not the only thing in this episode. Obviously, we had to deal with the whole Penguin situation. That got interesting because obviously, Nigma joins up with Tabitha, Butch, as well as Barbara. Obviously, they're like, there's no way Penguin's alive. It's like, yeah, he's alive. Oh yeah, side note, kind of a thing I forgot to mention. It's like also he's got like a whole bunch of strangest like mutants on his side. Well, I shouldn't use the word mutant, mainly because obviously, this is DC and not Marvel, so that's why I'm saying that. Got a lot of strangest experiments on his side. I mean, it sucks for Penguin because he no longer has his army, because it's like, yeah, he's been going a couple days, so Freeze and Firefly left because it's like, yeah, he's probably not coming back, and they just left, and it's like, I did not realize, I was wondering, did he get anyone else, or was it just him? Apparently, it's just them. Like, 3 people doesn't make an army. Especially, I'm sure Selena would admit, I mean, she says it multiple times. It's like, yeah, Ivy's an idiot. So it's kind of like, so it's like you got 2 fully reliable people. I mean, Ivy, being the idiot's not the most, I mean, granted, it's like he's had plenty of henchmen that are, idiots. But, Ivy won't look at it that way. Because it's like, I don't know, Penguin's my friend and everything. But, Selena basically ended up selling him out, mainly because she's like, oh yeah, because I don't want Ivy hurt because she's actually my friend and everything. I mean, the only reason why Selena is involved in all of this because it's like, yeah, I need your help tracking down, like Penguin needed her help tracking down, Firefly. What's her real name again? They mentioned it in this episode. Is it Brittany? I'm completely blanking on it. But like her, that is her friend, and she was just trying to track her down because she probably hasn't seen her since season 2 when she originally became Firefly. Yeah, she hasn't seen her subsequently since then, so. Even at the last moment, they've like finally won and everything. Like Riddler has him in his clutches. Like, oh yeah, before you die, I want you to say my name, Riddler. And Penguin's like, really? Like, I'm gonna give you the satisfaction of calling you such a stupid name. And it's just like, because for him, it's a psychological thing, because he wants to be, it's like, I'm no longer Edward Nigma. I am the Riddler. Show me some respect. I've earned my right here, which is, Oswald kind of had a whole tirade he had Ivy listen to, basically. And like, the fact of the matter is, like, there are, like, no one ever disrespected Don Falcone or Maroni or even Fish like this. She had loyalty. Like, yeah, they had their faults and everything, but then that was something that they always garnished from people, their loyalty and everything. So it's like Penguin's just kind of upset that people won't give him that, So, and then now it seems like, both him and Ed share that they want that people to recognize, like realize who I am. I am not. I mean, just like Oswald, he used to like hate being called the Penguin, but now he's just kind of embraced it. So, but I guess, you know, Nigma wants that, you know, recognition too. It's like, recognize me. It's like, even when it's all said and done, like you still long for Oswald's approval, whether you really want to admit it or not. Because it's like, if you don't have Oswald's approval, you'll never be satisfied. You'll never feel like you're complete. Like it's brought up, like let's bring up again, like his whole name situation. Like he needed, like he kept drugging himself so that Oswald would pop up, so that Oswald would help him be who he needs to be, you know? Become who he's really meant to be. And lo and behold, who pops up at the last second? But Fish Mooney, like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is, look at you. Oh, Gotham's such a beautiful place. Enemies pointing guns at each other. It's like, the good old times. And ends up taking Oswald away. Surprised about that. It's like, I'm very interested what her plan is for Oswald. Like, will she like join with him or make him kind of like her lackey again? I mean, I don't think she would ever do that again, because it's like, oh, the last time she made him her lackey did not end well for her. So plus she knows she probably can't trust him as a lackey, that he'll always be trying to aim for the big top, especially because he already had that position at one point in time. So obviously he worked to kind of get it back and everything. And so I'm also curious what this means for Ivy. Obviously probably her and Selena are going to hang out again, but it's like, I'm surprised she didn't go after her. She's like, oh, can I come along? It's like, part of me is kind of halfway hoping and wishing that she had gone along. Like, oh no, I'm not letting you take my friend anywhere. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But like I said, most likely at this point, she's going to go with Selena. I also love too, Selena never bothered telling anyone. Like, oh yeah, so the court has this plan, because I'm sure Oswald nor Nigma ever got the keynotes of like, oh, what the court was planning. I mean, they're bringing up everything. It's like, oh yeah, we know the Court of Owls and everything. It's like, oh, but that's a problem we don't have to worry about. It's like, you're an idiot, not realizing that they play a big part of this. Like, you're so worried about Oswald when there's something more dangerous on the front, especially when everything kind of plays out the way it needs to at the end of the episode, like the gas being released and everything. So it's just like how wrong you are. Like, because none of them know, because Selena never bothered telling them. Because she's like, yeah, just enough money to get out of town. It's like, I guess they're all just saying, oh, well, she's just running. It's like, no, Selena's leaving Gotham for a specific reason. I feel like if it was money, I feel like Selena could have easily left town whenever she wanted to. But it's like, Gotham's her home, and she didn't want to leave it. But now she's like, she knows the danger that's coming, so she's like, yeah, screw it, I'm leaving. So it's kind of sad, because she's kind of taking a step back, which kind of deals with Lucifer in a sense. But obviously that will get its own due time. But it's just like, you know, it's like, it's not about helping people, you know, like, it's not even about helping Bruce. Like, it seemed like, you know, you wanted to help Bruce because you were going to warn Alfred and everything. No matter how much you felt about things, you were going to warn Alfred before Clone Bruce pushed out the window. Which begs the question, where the hell is Clone Bruce at? We haven't seen him since he knocked Alfred and Selena out. So Still not clear on what his purpose is. I mean, and now that means very little now that Catherine's dead, as well as the rest of the court. I wonder how he's going to feel when he finds that out, that they're gone. And also what this means going forward, like I brought up before, is like we see still remnants of it. Tabitha and Barbara still not on the best of terms, but you do have Butch saying like, how much longer are we going to like take this? Like, oh, Barbara doing, you know, kind of treating him like crap. She's like, oh, treating them like crap. It's like, oh yeah, let the big kids talk. You guys just shoo, you know, like their annoyances and stuff like that. So it's sad considering how close her and Tabitha have always been, and now seeing them falling apart like that. So obviously that must mean at some point Tabitha's going to make a move, probably next episode, maybe not. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how like that story ends, like what will be the outcome of that. But another part of this episode, big part of it, was dealing with the Lee situation, her injecting herself with the virus, because it's like, I guess in a way it was her punishing herself for the fact is that Mario is dead because of her, which Gordon's like, it's not your fault. But she's like, no, Gordon, it is. The fact of the matter is, she's like, I need to find out what it is that the virus will unleash from within me. Maybe, I guess she figures she'll find some answers. Like, Mario found who he was because of the virus. Maybe I'll finally show her who she is. And she's like, it makes her realize, like, all this time it's like, the good, you know, Dr. Lee is like, why is she so attracted to a man like Gordon who harbors so much darkness? And then she's like, oh, the reason why is because obviously there must be a little darkness in her. So she's like, that's what this is all about. Like, this is like no longer hiding from what she is or who she really is deep down. You know, which is like, that doesn't make, I mean, obviously the virus just amplifies what's there. It doesn't reveal who you really are. It just amplifies what's already there. Like maybe the darkest parts of yourself that you may not be willing to admit, you know, because I mean, even the good sides of you become distorted because of that. I mean, obviously, like, there's a good part of this because it's like, oh, I love you, Jim, but the fact of the matter is, I need you to stop holding back of who you are, admit like who you are, show your true colors, that darkness in you, let it out, and we can basically like be the happy couple. That's why she does everything she does, kidnapping Jim, burying him into the ground, and basically it's like, hey, here's the virus. You either take it or you die. And it's like, obviously you're going to take it. Then everyone's going to see you for who you really are. And then we can be the couple like we were meant to be. Twisted version of love. It's sweet in a twisted way, but still. And it's sad to see like her like that. Just like, yeah, it's kind of cool seeing her just like activate it whenever she wants to. Like normally, like for it to activate within people, it seems like it takes time. It took time with Barnes. It took, you know, like his emotions flaring up for it to really kick in. It wasn't until after a while that he fully submitted to it. Same thing for Mario. Like it popped in here and there, but it didn't fully control him. But it seems like it fully controls Lee. I guess mainly because she just accepted it. She brought it in and accepted it, trying to control it. She let it like completely have her. So I guess that's the difference, because like her eyes are constantly shifting throughout the episode, and she's just so not herself, and it kind of throws you off, you know, seeing her like that. But obviously, like Harvey's like, okay, we're trying to find you, buddy, but the fact of the matter is, we're not going to be able to. It's like you might need to take that, you know, virus, which we'll worry about the aftermath of that later, which like Gordon's like, I can't do that, I don't want to do that, I'm not going to become a monster. But it's like once he figured out where the bomb might be and the radio's not working, he's like, I don't have any choice, so he takes it. We don't see him completely lose control, because the first thing he does is try to go stop the bomb. Sadly, Lee shows up and stops him, because it's like, oh yeah, we're not going to be the only one. So even under these circumstances, she's like, because obviously like, because the thing is, even in that state of mind, we did see Gordon still, like, even when, like, she knocked him out and everything, like, maybe because once again, it seems like Lee completely submitted to it. It doesn't seem like Gordon did. Like, obviously, there's a cop there, and he just tosses the cop out of the way and stuff like that. Won't let Talon try to stop him. He's, like, really punching him and not even being affected by it, and just, like, pushes the dude out of the way. Tries to stop the bomb, even after kind of being knocked down by Lee. He's still checking for the bomb, and it goes off, so what this means going forward for the next episode, I'm very interested to see how things will play out, because next week's episode is the 2-hour season finale. Like, obviously, like, what's going to happen to Gordon because he's infected? There's obviously a large population that's being infected. Like, what is up with Fish and her motives for taking Oswald? Is she going to want to partner up with Oswald, which would be interesting considering the fact is, you know, the reason why you quote-unquote died the first time is because of him. So, you know, kind of interesting. Would you really be all for letting bygones be bygones? You know, maybe there's like a level of respect between her and Bacon where she's like, okay, I'll let you in on this. So it's like, because I was wondering, I was like, okay, it's like, it seems like they wait to the last, because like we haven't seen her since like I think the first half of the season, like when Penguin was still marrying everything, like was like the last time we saw her was when she took Strange so that she could get healed. So what is it that she has planned? Like, so many storylines are going to collide next episode. Obviously, Bruce and Ra's al Ghul. It's like, what is his plans for Gotham? What is it that he's seen? I mentioned one of when we get a Lazarus Pit in this show, too. You know? Now, obviously, what does this mean? Like, obviously, this also means, I mean, since, like, I brought it up before, like, the whole relationship between Batman and, like I say Talia, because the only time I ever really, you know, Nyssa I'm only familiar with because of Arrow, but I also know that they both exist in the comic books too. So this might be a situation where it's like, oh, might be a union. Maybe it'll be like the Demon Head being like, oh, Bruce, I want you to eventually take over my spot. I want you and my daughter to roll side by side. Kind of, following the DC front, like how Arrow did that with, you know, Oliver and Nyssa. So maybe similar circumstances, and might be the plan. Which would be kind of interesting, because that'd be like, oh, so here's Bruce and Talia. It's like, oh, maybe that'll make, I don't know, maybe it'll have no effect on Selena, maybe it'll bother her. I don't know, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But I'm very curious, because I get the feeling like, because like I brought up, like, where is Clone Bruce? Like, now, like, he doesn't have a home anymore, because, like, you know, like I said, what was his real purpose besides just filling in the void for Bruce being gone? Like, there's got to be more to his story. Maybe we'll finally get that confrontation I wanted. Maybe it'll be Bruce versus Clone Bruce, and maybe, you know, Roz will be like, oh, the fact of the matter is, only one Bruce Wayne can exist, so both of you have to choose. Which one will you be? Maybe we'll get a situation where the real Bruce snaps out of it, and he's like, no, I don't want to have a part with this. I won't destroy my city. And Clone Bruce is the one when it goes off with him. Maybe the big twist we'll find out. I mean, we would just have to wait and see what goes down. Hopefully, Gordon is able to hold off, like, because what I'm hoping is maybe this will be a situation we find out what happens next episode. The fact is that Gordon is able to kind of fight off the darkness, like, because that darkness in his heart, which it's there, but he doesn't submit to it, and he's able to, it taps into the more justice side of him, because obviously that played a part in this because he was willing, but like, not to the extent that Barnes, or rather the executioner goes, but being the person that Jim wants to be, and maybe we'll be lucky that Lucius will be able to get a cure made. I don't know hopefully it'll be in time for both, Lee and Gordon, considering the fact is that it hasn't been that long since they both took it, so maybe it's still relatively in a good enough state for them to, be cured. And also, what about Strange? Because the last time we saw like Harvey giving Alfred full permission, like, yo, do whatever you need to, even if you have to break Strange into pieces and just have the brain back a little bit. It's like, that's fine by me. Do whatever you need to, get whatever information you have, and just throwing him off about the like grabbing onto his tie and hanging him off the edge of the building. Which is like, for him, is like, either I tell you what you want to know, you kill me. I don't tell you what you want to know, you kill me. So it's like, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Which is like, okay, I'll let you go. And it's like, finally Strange spills his being. Which is like, to me, it's like, I thought the impression was like, the fact of the matter is you be more cooperative, considering the fact is you're so keen on playing both sides. I guess it's, well, no, because he knows that the entire court is dead. But I guess it's like, he felt like, well, the fact is, he's like, he wanted to play the odds. And now that he sees that the leader, or Roz's side is winning, it's like, oh yeah, obviously I'm going to stay on their side and be loyal and everything. I mean, all it earned him was being knocked down and left off on the roof. So I don't know, maybe he'll go free. Like, I'm very curious to see where his story goes, because it's like, well, you're known as a bad guy, but it's like, will this all be over for you? I mean, he might get that immunity deal he wanted, if he plays his cards right, and maybe he's just waiting for his opportunity to try it. Like I said, very good episode, and I'm very interested to see what goes down in the season finale. And now moving on to the season finale of Lucifer. A fantastic season finale. It's so good! Basically, the premise of the entire episode is obviously that, Charlotte's cleaned up the whole Chet situation. Basically got someone to dispose of his body. Basically, it got left, and basically Chloe gets the case, which Lucifer ends up going to Linda's office because Linda's being forced to help Charlotte, which is, you feel so bad for Linda, because Linda's all like, man, she's so mixed up in everything. She's neck deep in all this. It's like, why does everyone keep coming? My life is literally turned upside down, and you guys just constantly come to me. It's like, you need medical attention, Charlotte? Go find someone who an actual doctor, which is like, she kind of forces Linda to help. And then, it's like, oh, the whole light situation comes out. And then eventually Lucifer pops up and finds out the truth. It's like, okay, so this is all, he's like, oh, great. Like, what I appreciate too is the fact that he breaks it down for Charlotte. He's like, the fact of the matter is you could hurt someone. So yes, we got to get this blade completed and everything as soon as possible, because you might end up hurting the detective. And you see the look on Charlotte's face like, yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm scared for your safety, Mom, and everything. It's like, no, I'm scared for all the humans that you might kill because your body won't be able to handle all your powers soon enough. And at the same time, more so than anything, it's like, what if Chloe arrests you and your body breaks down while you're in a cell, or while she's interrogating you and she might die? That's where his main concerns are. That shows you where his priorities are. I mean, truth be told, but I think on some level, Charlotte was like, okay, my son loves me. He cares about me. She knows she's had problems in the past when she's like, oh yeah, does Lucifer really think so badly of me? Like, I have been a terrible mother, haven't I? Like, am I no better than his dad, using and manipulating him? It's like, she always thought of herself as better. Like, I wasn't always there for him, but I'm obviously making up for it. So it's like, obviously, I'm better than his dad, but now it's like things got put in perspective for her. It's like, I'm no better than his dad, manipulating him with everything, every step along the way. I mean, it's extra sad later on with what happens to Linda, because it's like, that was mad messed up. I was like, okay, no, Charlotte makes it seem like she did something, but it's like, no, Linda's fine. It's like, fuck no, like, she hurt Linda bad. She's bruised up and everything. Her, like, stomach's been cut. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I get you want to get information from her, but dude, like, that's someone that your son cares about, and if he finds out what you did, like, there's no going back for that. I mean, granted, once she found out the truth about what Lucifer really wanted to do, then like it was it was no problem for her anymore. It's just like, screw it, you guys have disappointed me. It's not that I'm mad, I've been betrayed by my sons. It's like everything I've been doing has been for your sake, which arguably at the same time I've constantly brought up, like, I'll give Charlotte the benefit of the doubt. And in this episode, she really kind of showed her true colors. Because obviously, like, doing this crappy thing she did kind of just showed you where her mindset was at. Because it's like, you go to heaven and everything, like, you're like, oh, we can be back, our family, our family. But Lucifer's like, going back to heaven, all that's going to happen is you and dad are going to fight. And you know what happens in wars? There are casualties. That means the rest of your children will die. And Charlotte's like, honestly, that's not what I want. And it's like, and so I kind of always kind of given her a little crap, because I always feel like I always knew she had an ulterior motive. But at the same time, it's like she really did want to just piece her family back together. Revenge against God is just kind of a little icing on top. But still, God, so much stuff went down. Like, I also like the conversation of like, well, Mom, you can always, you should probably, go back to heaven. Who needs that? Well, then what you could do, Mom, is you could go to hell. It's like, oh yeah, someone warmer. It's like, well, come on, think about it, Mom. Hell doesn't have a ruler. In a minute, I was like, yeah, I mean, come on, you can kind of be queen and everything, which is like, it's so interesting, because it's like, the fact of the matter is, because that was the whole thing about Amenedo trying to get Lucifer to do back in season 1, was to go back to hell. But it's like, I mean, I guess hell is very self-sufficient, because it's like, it doesn't need anyone to necessarily run it. I mean, because Lucifer obviously, during the winter finale, he ended up going obviously to save Chloe, but the fact of the matter is, like, hell seemed pretty stable so far. So I mean, he's been out of hell for like 5+ years. Like, even like back in season 1, by that time season 1 started, he'd already been away from hell for like 5 years, if I remember correctly. But I guess it's a situation where it's like, I guess because it's self-sustaining, it doesn't need anyone. Because I was like, oh, that would kind of be a nice fit for her. She can, have a domain to rule. I mean, granted, I doubt she'd want to be in hell, because it's like, hell is punishment. That's where Lucifer was sent for his low rebellion. It's kind of where she was locked up for doing what she did. Well, everything that she's done, gone, plagues and floods and stuff like that, just kind of trying to wreck God's little toy and everything, Earth and humans. So I guess obviously she doesn't have the most fond memories of it. I mean, it's almost messed up, because it's like, oh, Lucifer, you want to send me to the place that even you don't want to go back to? Oh, good to see how much you love about your mom. But it's also stacked on top of that, it's the betrayal, the manipulation, even kind of threatening Chloe, which is another thing. It's like, you say you love your son so much, but the fact of the matter is, you hurt one of the people he cares about deeply, Linda, and at the same time willing to threaten the person he outright loves, probably one of the very few people in existence that he loves. But on some level, no matter what the situation is, I think he does care about his mom and dad. Like, no matter what they've done, he still cares about them. I mean, because when the situation was all said and done, he could have easily killed his mom. He had the flaming sword in his hand, but he didn't kill his mom. He found another way, because he had a conversation with Chloe, because obviously he's trying to keep Chloe away from his mom and everything like that. And it turns out, oh yeah, like, Chloe's like, the fact is you're not telling me everything. Again, it's like, no, we don't go backwards, go forward. We should go forward, don't go backwards. It's like, we're back to like, you not telling me everything. And then I thought we had already gotten past this, Which Lucifer kind of says that to his mom. Like, once again, it's like, you going to heaven is just you going backwards. It's like, go forward, have your own life. So he ends up cutting open a portal. Did not see that coming. I was like, so is he going to go with his original plan? Is he going to kill her? I mean, especially I don't think he knew about Linda until afterwards, but I wonder whether that have influenced his decision. But the fact of the matter is, he was like, he opened up a portal for his mom to kind of go through. It's like, it's an empty world. It's an empty dimension. Create your own world. Like, now you don't have to submit to like something that God created. Fact of the matter is, yes, you may not be away from your children, but this is a world where you can go do your own thing, create your own world, kind of create maybe your own version of humanity, become the God, be the goddess that you are. Sadly, this does mean that we will not be seeing Trisha Helfer anymore. Yet, even if Lucifer's mom pops up, which I don't think she will, but even though off chance she pops up again, she will be in a different body. I mean, luckily enough, Charlotte is alive again, because let's not forget, like, the circumstances around her picking Charlotte's body. Charlotte was dead, but it seems like her, I guess, goddess energy repaired Charlotte's body, and upon her leaving, like, some of her, I guess, resonance still existed to the point it could heal her and bring her back to life. So she wakes up as Charlotte, and it's like, because Lucifer's like, Mom? It's like, all right, yeah, Charlotte, and calling her Charlotte again. So that's definitely going to be hard to explain later on to Chloe and everything. It's like, yeah, she's saying she's not your mom. What was all with that? Yeah, that was that was a thing. And it's also like got to be complicated considering like Dan, because even Dan's like, it's okay. She's like, who are you? And he's like, because everything that went on between them. She even gave him a final kiss. She's like, I'm gonna miss you, because she's even like, yo, Chloe, let's go talk somewhere. It'd be awkward, Dan being involved in everything, which is like, that was her way of being like, she didn't like, if things had to go nuclear, if she had to hurt Chloe just to get what she wants, she didn't want to hurt Dan because she legitimately cares about him. He's like the only human that she likes. So she's like, hey, something her and Amenadiel can agree on. In fact, it's like, oh, Dan, you're a pretty good human, especially because Amenadiel was doing his whole thing this episode, trying to do, what is it? Improv, because it's like, oh yeah, it helped Dan with his problems, so it helped me with mine. But he's venting up there, and then the guy who's improvising was like, oh yeah, and Dan had to be like, okay, pause. It's like, oh yeah, dude, yeah, come on, you'll get it. And he's like, oh man, help me, this giraffe is giving birth. It's like, how can I help you when I was sitting here to kill my father? And then you add Dan be like, yo, dude, that's dark. He's like, pull that back a little bit. And it's like, I thought you said this helped you. And he's like, it did, with your issues, which, Amenadiel kind of took that literally as like, hey, let me vent my issues, but not in that way. I did appreciate the fact that he hugged Dan. Granted, he did that to hide the key and everything, which is like, I guess it makes sense that he would put it on Dan because Dan's like the only person he really fully trusts. They kind of rely on. Like I say, him and Dan kind of bonded last episode. So, like I said, before that, they never really had too much interaction, at least to my knowledge. So, but I really appreciated Amenadiel's story in this one too, because like he's kind of got a bloated ego a little bit. Because he's like, whoa, I am the favorite son. He's getting all happy about it and everything. Him and Lucifer almost kind of doing like almost a kid, like they're acting like children at the beginning. Because Lucifer's all right, give me the keys. Like, Amenadiel's like, ooh, and like kind of runs away from him. He's like, oh my god, and like because Amenadiel's like, it breaks his mind in a positive way, because it's like it makes so much sense. Like before, he's like, father manipulated me. I thought all these terrible things about dad. It's like, no. Dad had a purpose for me all along. It was to protect his key. I'm his favorite son. He's kind of letting that get to his head and everything. It's like, I'm the son that he always want. Like, I'm the one he relies on. Everything has been part of his plan. Like, I lost faith in Dad, but I was like, no more. I'm going to go back to being the loyal warrior that I am. It's like, he's kind of stepping back into becoming who he was back in season 1 again. Because it's like, yeah, this is who I'm supposed to be. It's just like, I've got to protect this because this is my job. I've got to protect the key and everything, which is like, wow. Like, it's interesting to see, because he spent so much time hating his dad, mainly because Charlotte kind of got in his head and everything. But it wasn't just Charlotte. It's just everything he saw, finding out about Chloe and everything. It just kind of cemented things in his head for like, yo, like, Dad's played his games for too long. I won't be a pawn in his game. It's like, I was always there. I'm his eldest son. I was always by his side. I was so loyal to him. And this is how he treats me. And now it's like, Dad, you had a plan all along. It's almost a situation where it's like, yep, Amenadiel's kind of back to drinking the Kool-Aid again. Like, the only one, obviously Lucifer's not so forgiving and everything. So I did appreciate when Maze was hired by Lucifer to go get her, which I love that whole scene between him and Trixie at Maze. And she's like, why should I help in anything? He's like, okay, stop acting, don't act like you don't care. I know there's humans you care about, and kind of looks at Trixie. It's like, I know you care about her. I know you care about Linda. I know you care about Chloe too. She's like, fine. And then, like, it's like, oh, Maze gets a lollipop because they're playing doctor and everything. And then, like, Lucifer's like, oh, I'd like a lollipop. And, like, I'd like one too. And Trixie's like, no lollipops for wusses. And it's like, ouch. And then, like, her and Maze kind of, like, it's so cute. The fact of the matter, it's like that's something I got to bring up too. Like, and it astounds me. I think I kind of brought it up last episode too, but kind of, the fact is, isn't just Lucifer. Obviously, he's the one we main focus on. The fact is that he's changed. He's not the only one that's changed. Like, everyone around, as we can see, Amenadiel changed a lot this season, but then he kind of shifted back a little bit because of the ending and towards the ending and everything. But Chloe changed, Dan changed, Charlotte had her changes, but Maze, amongst anybody else, changed heavily. She's not the person she was, especially comparing her to, like, the first season. You compare her to the first episode, she's a lot more lighthearted. She actually cares about other people. She has feelings. Like, before, she wouldn't have cared. She's like, okay, like, she had to, like, kind of, like, she didn't really invest too much into the whole individuality thing. It's like, wherever Lucifer goes, like, I'm by your side, like, I've been by your side for such a long time. That's where I'm going to be. We shouldn't be here anymore. Let's go back to hell and just kind of kick it there. But it's like, no, she enjoys it here on Earth, because she doesn't even bring that up anymore about leaving. Like, I guess after everything went down last season with, like, Lucifer, like, she's just not, like, worried about going home anymore. I guess mainly because it was no longer a possibility because like they used the feather to heal Amenadel, so which giving major props to him in this episode, like tapping into his powers. I enjoy that, like, and it's not just a localized freezing, which I always assumed was what his powers did, but it's like, no, even from where he was, because he was freezing time to stop Linda's bleeding so they could get her to the hospital, but at the same time, he stopped time at the whole situation, like with Lucifer and Charlotte. Which is interesting too, that I kind of, like, basically, obviously, like, one of the cleaners ended up dying. Her name was Ava. Her sister, I forgot her name, didn't bring it up, but she was too afraid to admit who the killer was. But because it was kind of interesting to me, I was like, oh man, Charlotte, you killed another person, which Lucifer was kind of alluding to, but Charlotte didn't react. I should have picked on something then, but then, like, you had Chloe being like, oh yeah, what about her? And it's like, oh, the cleaner's dead? And it's like, wait, you didn't kill her. And it's like the person who did was Hector, because Hector, Chet's brother, because obviously he says he's kept distance from the family, but I think he was a lot closer to the family than he'd like to admit. I mean, even if that wasn't the case, that was his brother that died, so obviously he'd want revenge. So this was all that was about. I mean, he got back at Ava probably because he wanted to get information, mainly because it wasn't even her, it was the other sister who would actually did the job, because basically her boyfriend, she recently got back with him, he gambles a lot, he's in a lot of debt, and she got paid a lot of money for this job, is why she did it. But her sister had no idea about it, because you saw that even more so when Ava was like, whoa, you went somewhere? It's like, what were you doing? And it's like, yeah, like she kept that side job from her sister and kind of got her sister killed, so it's kind of sad in that department. But now Amenadel has his powers back. Possibly. Maybe it was just for, it was an extreme moment of like, he needs to help Linda because that's someone he cares about too. So, I mean, a big question too is like, what does this mean going forward for like Amenadel and Maze? Because Lucifer, once he cut open, obviously his mom went through, he threw the blade in. So I think he kept the key, but he threw the blade in. So it's like, it can't be used to get them back to heaven or earth, which makes you wonder, will Amenadel even care? Because for him, it's all about protecting the key. And it's like, well, now they never have to worry about that being used again. Flaming sword, it's like, because Lucifer has no need for it. It's like, he wants to stay here. He has no intention of going anywhere. But obviously, like, he had that conversation with Chloe, and Chloe's like, the fact of the matter is, like, I want you to tell me the truth. The fact of the matter is, you don't have to hide stuff from me because you think I won't like it no matter what it is that you're hiding from me. It's like, the fact of the matter is, I know who you really are. She's like, I've seen the kind of person you are, how caring you can be. Like I've brought up before, how Lucifer, seeks punishment against people, not just because he really enjoys it. He wants to get justice for people, whether he'll really phrase it like that or not. So Chloe's just kind of like, I know the real you, so you don't kind of have to hide anymore. Which after talking to Linda, which she's good, she's okay, it was so sweet of her being like, Lucifer, like, I opened myself up to this because I learned the truth and everything. So that comes with the good and the bad. The fact of the matter is, I knew things would kind of be trying being your friend, but I'm still with you all the way. And it's like, give me Doc, I love you. Because this would be a situation where I was actually scared. I was like, maybe she'll kind of want to get away from them. And maybe to ease her pain, Lucifer decides to, like, I don't know if he can actually do this, or maybe Amenadel could do it, but maybe, like, take away her memory so she forgets knowing what she knows. But it's like, no. Linda's like, I'm fine. I'm glad, actually. I mean, because I'm sure, because for one, that would suck on Maze's department too, because it's like, she can be open with Linda. It's like, that's her friend and everything. She doesn't have to hide anything from her anymore. So there's like very few people you can be 100% honest with. And Linda's the only person that, I mean, that's why they rely so heavily on her. That's why they're always there and care so much about her, because she's the one person that knows exactly who they are and accept her. I mean, for Lucifer, that means a lot because she knows who he really was. It scared her off originally, but she's accepted him. She talks to him. She has so much. It's such a beautiful thing, dude. I appreciate, like, because Lucifer probably can count on one hand how many friends he actually has. And Linda's one of the few. Chloe's one of, I mean, I like to say Ella. In a twisted way, Dan's kind of one too. Like, especially like this season, him and Dan have kind of gotten closer over the course of this season, so. But obviously at the end of the episode, like, Lucifer's like, hey, Chloe, I got to tell you the truth and everything. But before he can, gets knocked out, wakes up in the desert. Lo and behold, he has his wings. And it's like, wait, what's up with that? Because remember, last season, he burnt his wings because he's like, I don't want them anymore. They're a reminder of who I was. So it's like, so who knocked him out? I get my immediate thought, one of his siblings. Because obviously we got introduced to Uriel and we've obviously met Amenadal. Like, we kind of know him, but it's like, there's so many more siblings that could have easily been sent to deal with that. It's like, why did they give Lucifer back his wings? Is it because of what Lucifer did? Did God, like, God's like, oh, he wanted to see what Lucifer would do, and he saw what Lucifer did, and it's like, son, you can always come back home whenever you want to, now that he has his wings. Which, once again, kind of puts things in perspective. It's like, what does this mean for Amenadal? Because Amenadal is like, oh, I'm the favorite son and everything. It's like, oh yeah, like, I'm sure he got his joy back, because it's like, oh yeah, Father gave him my powers back, because the fact of the matter is he knows that I'm on the right path again. Like, I lost faith in everything, but here I am. I'm back at full power again. I'm set on the right path. So he'll think like, oh, I'm the favorite son. But what does that mean if he finds out Lucifer's got his wings back in here? He's like, whoa, Father gave you your wings back. But it's like, I can't even summon my wings. I've only been able to tap into a little bit of my power. Like, I still think there's a lot more to that. I don't know if it's necessarily God, or maybe it's just kind of like something psychological within, like, Amenadal. His powers are there. Maybe it's subconsciously, his own insecurities and stuff like that is keeping him from really tapping into his powers. I mean, it seems like he's always kind of been insecure, because he's always looked up, oh, Lucifer, obviously I was here to grab you because you are Dad's favorite. So, a very interesting twist. Just like I said, a fantastic season finale altogether. I was so certain. I was like, okay, Lucifer, like, Chloe's gonna learn the truth about Lucifer, but turns out not to be the case. So, like I said, I legitimately am bummed out we won't be seeing any more Charlotte, at least that we know of. I'm curious, like, what does this mean going for Charlotte and Dan? Like, I mean, that probably means we won't be seeing any more Trisha Helfer, like, at all. Not even just as, Lucifer's mom, but just as the character of Charlotte, just because it's like, Charlotte's gonna go back to her life and everything. I mean, granted, she is alive again, so there's that. So, but, like, what would happen? Like, I'm so excited. The show has been confirmed for season 3. Thank you so much, Fox. I love it when you tell me ahead of time. So, I'm weird. I don't like looking ahead, because I think as long as I don't look in some shape or form, that's going to make sure a show comes back. But it's like, nope, it's been renewed for a 3rd season. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to see what would go down in this season 3. Like, obviously, like, maybe we'll get to find out more about Lucifer's siblings. Like, now we've been dealing with the celestial, like, the heaven aspect of it. Now I think it's about time, like, the twist, I think, is like dealing with the hell side of things. Maybe some demons that Lucifer and May's knew from their whole days. Will he finally tell Chloe the truth, even though he wanted to tell? Like, how long was Lucifer knocked out? Obviously, he's in the middle of a desert, so will Chloe think like, oh, he went off on his own again, or having to try and explain that? What about the key he got from? Like I said, I'm pretty sure like he kept it, and then plans on giving it back to Amenadal when he gets a chance, but. We'll see. I think he only threw the blade in. I mean, that's also another thing, too. It's like, Azrael's blade is here on Earth, but it's like, where the hell is Azrael? Like, is she in heaven? Or what? Because that was never really brought up again, so. Like, I think I brought it up before, or maybe I'm imagining things. But what about, like, Chloe, because she has the whole question about, Charlotte, you said was your stepmom. She explained she was your stepmom. It's like, was that all a lie? What was this whole situation? Because Chloe helps him out. It's like, oh yeah, we could say it was Hector who committed both murders. And it's like, oh, I mean, granted, the whole situation was an accident. That was more so self-defense because Chet tried to kill her. But, I mean, it's kind of dealt with and gone, so. I get the feeling next season will be a season where we probably dive a little deeper into Ella, just because, like, the fact of the matter is a little bit about her family situation. Obviously, her brother kind of being a criminal and everything. It's come up, so I get the feeling like I was wondering like if that come up a little bit more this season. Granted, I didn't know, like, because I'm pretty sure the first season was only 13 episodes. This is like the 18th episode, so I'm very curious to see what season 3 be. As long, or if not longer, but I didn't know how long this season was going to be, so I was like, oh, maybe we'll get something to it, but obviously not, because we're here at the season, but at season finale, so maybe something will pop up in the 3rd season about her and her family too, so maybe we'll finally get to actually meet God himself in season 3 too. I'm very curious, because it's like, what was this all for? Like, is him getting his wings back a reward, or is this some kind of play by someone else? Like, is someone else kind of taking on Charlotte's position of like, oh, I want to take over heaven and I need you at full strength to help me do that? Maybe it's not an angel, maybe it's another demon. I mean, we'll kind of, like I said, I hope we kind of, like I said, we've been dealing with the heaven side of things. I'd be kind of interested to kind of deal with the hell side of things. Like, that's something we haven't delved too much into. I mean, we kind of worked our way there this season, kind of learning a little bit more on how hell operates and everything. Maybe someone's there maybe someone else has decided to kind of step up and become the new ruler of hell, and Lucifer has to deal with that type of situation. I don't know. So many different possibilities. I'm super excited to see what will go down in season 3. But like I said, fantastic season finale. Just like overall, this season has just been so good. I love the first season. I love the second season just as much. I probably want to say even more. It's just like they took what I loved about the second season. The first season, they just built upon it. Like obviously, it's just like I'm just so interested to see where these lovely, lovely characters will end up in season 3. What new issues will kind of rise up? It's like you dealt with your mom, and now that's out of the way. Like I say, because at least with season 1, they ended it with being like, yep, we're setting up our main antagonist of season 2. I wasn't quite sure where she fell on. I was like, kind of got the feeling it was supposed to be kind of like a main antagonist role, but that's like where, we got Charlotte. We knew that ahead of time, like, oh, his mom got out of hell. Like, but the thing is, we don't know who else got out of hell. I think Amenadal actually checked and it was like Charlotte's the only one that got out of hell. I keep calling her Charlotte, but it's like, the goddess, like, is, because I'm like any other time I refer to her as her, like Lucifer's mom, but in retrospect, I'm like, I should have always referred to her as Charlotte because that's her human form that she's in and everything. So, granted, it's not her human form, but semantics, right? But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.